Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to continue working with charts. This time, we're going to work with the design and format of your chart. Now I've opened up the Learning Files workbook and I've clicked on the enrollment worksheet. To begin, I'm just going to make a couple of charts so that we have something to work with. So I'm going to make a chart that represents my September enrollment by selecting A3 through B7, clicking on Insert. I'm going to go with a column chart, and I'm going to go with the 3D clustered column. I'm just going to move this over and resize it. And for my second chart, I'm going to select the non-adjacent range A3 through A7 and C3 through C7. And this time I'm going to make a pie chart in 3D. And I'm going to move this below my column chart. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see everything and just resize everything. Okay. So the first thing I want to point out is that after you build a chart, you have access to two new tabs. These are called your Chart Tools Contextual tabs, and they hold all the options you need for working with your chart. Now notice as I click on different charts, the options change. They are specific to the type of chart that's selected. Okay, so with my pie chart selected, my chart styles represent pie charts, and with my column chart selected, my chart styles represent column charts. So if I click off my chart, then my Chart Tools Contextual tabs go away. Okay, I'm going to click back on and I'm going to select my column chart. Now it's important to note that the options on the Chart Design tab pertain to the entire chart. So whatever I apply here affects the whole chart, as opposed to the Format tab. This tab pays attention to what's selected on the chart. And we'll deal more with that in a little bit. For now, we're going to look at the Chart Design tab. So if I look at my options on the far left, I have the Chart Layout group. This group gives me options to add different things to my chart layout. All the items that you could possibly add to a chart are called chart elements. If I click this drop arrow, you can see that I have a bunch of different choices. So the way they work is you find what you want to add. I'm going to add axis titles. So an axis title is a placeholder that goes underneath or next to each axis. I chose primary horizontal and it added this placeholder. I'm going to take out the default text and put in something that describes my horizontal axis. So I'm going to put class names. And I'm also going to add an axis title for my primary vertical. That gave me this title. I'm going to take out the default text and put in enrollment numbers. Now it's important when you add chart elements that you only add things that are going to clarify or enhance your chart. In the case of charts, you don't want to have too many things. You don't want to make it too busy. You want to have just enough to make your chart appealing and easy to understand. Now, a chart title comes with by default when you build a chart. and it's put above the chart. If you want to change its placement, you have these options. I like above the chart, so I'm just going to go in and change my title to September enrollment. Let's look at some more options. I always like to add data labels because these allow you the opportunity to add added information to each data point. And I usually only add values. So a data call out to me is a little too busy, too much information. I already know my category name because I have that in my horizontal axis. So I don't need it to say the name in my call out. I'm going to click on Add Chart Element and go to Data Labels and choose More Data Label Options. This allows me to specify what I see in my data labels. That opened up this window over here. And I'm just going to uncheck category name so that only my value is displayed. And now I'm done with this window, so I can click the X and close it. Let's look at some other options. A data table provides you with a grid underneath your horizontal axis that shows you the data from your spreadsheet. I don't want one, so I'm going to leave it as none. Grid lines. This allows you to modify the grid lines that are behind your data series. You can see as I hover over them how they change. I like my default settings, so I'm going to keep it. And a legend. So a legend describes the information in your chart. So right now I have none, because if you look at my chart, I don't need anything else. Okay, I know this is September enrollment because my title tells me that. I know what my vertical axis is because I've got a tag that tells me those are my enrollment numbers. Horizontal axis is my class names. I don't need anything else. I've got a data label that tells me the value of each data point. If I were to select a legend, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, my legend just appeared on the right and it says Series 1. That's irrelevant data for this chart. So I'm not going to have any legend. Now, quick layouts have different chart elements that come with each one. And as you hover over them, you'll see they're all named and it lists the elements for each one. Okay, so if you don't want to choose yours piece by piece by adding chart element like we just did, you could find a layout that works for you and just point and click. I like what I did, so I'm going to keep mine. Change colors, let you choose a different color set. Chart styles. If you click the drop arrow, you'll see there's even more. So chart styles are preset styles that include font style, colors, 3D options or special effect options, and they're all named. So you hover over them and they're a point and click. So I'm going to go with style 3. Switch row and column. This lets you switch your axis information. So if I were to click that, it would move my enrollment numbers to my horizontal axis and my class names to my vertical axis. I don't want to do that. Select data opens up a window that allows you to select a different data range for your chart. Okay, so if I wanted to include all my classes and all my months, I could just reselect and there's my new chart. Okay, or I can put it back to original. Change chart type. allows you to change your chart type. It opens up the change chart type window, and I'm on the all charts tab. Now we know that column and bar charts are interchangeable because they represent the same type of data. The only difference is the direction of the data points. So I'll change mine to a bar, and I'll go with the 3D option. And move chart gives you the option to move your chart as an object in any of the pages that you have in your workbook. By default, it's an object in the existing page, the one I built it on. I can also put it on its own sheet. If I want to move this chart to a new sheet, I can select this option and give the sheet tab a name. I'll call this September enrollment chart. When I click OK, my chart is removed from the enrollment sheet and it's placed in its own tab called September enrollment chart. I'm going to go back to the enrollment sheet and work with the pie chart now. So we've covered all the options on this chart design tab. Now I'm going to go to the format tab. So this is where you need to pay attention to what's selected on your chart. So you can choose what's selected by hovering around your chart, and when the little tag shows up, you click to activate that part of the chart. And then whatever formatting you choose from these options will be applied to that part of the chart. I selected my chart area, so now when I chose the yellow background, it applied it to the chart area. Now it can be difficult to find a specific part of the chart that you want to format just by hovering around. So you can click the drop arrow in this current selection group and choose what you want to format from there. I'll go with my chart title. I'll make it this green. I'm also going to give it an outline that is black, and I'll make my outline weighted at a 3-point. And I'm going to enter some text for my chart title. This was October enrollment. Now, because my chart title has words in it, I can apply word art styles just by clicking and selecting. I'll go with this one. And I could further modify that by playing with my text fill, outline, and text effects. Now, because we have a pie chart, we have some options for extracting data. I'm going to add data labels as a best fit so that we can see how much each slice of pie is worth. Now, let's say I wanted to focus on a particular data point. Let's say I want to focus on this Google Slides data point. I select it by clicking on it. And I know it's selected because I can see the selection points around the outside of it. Let's say I want to pull that out a little bit. That's called exploding a piece of pie. Okay, and by pulling that out, I've drawn specific attention to this data point. Now, there's other ways that you can pull out or draw attention to a specific piece of information. You can use shapes. If I go to my Insert tab and go to Shapes, I like to use arrows a lot. So I can grab a black block arrow and I can draw it, maybe put it at an angle, and I could type high enrollment. And then notice when my shape is selected, I now have a new contextual tab called Shape Format. So whatever I do here will be applied to the shape. Okay, let's go back to the column chart. Now, we know that a data series is all the data for a particular category. So if I wanted to select my data series in this chart, I click on any one of the data points, and I want to verify that they've all been selected by looking at my selection points on each one. Okay, I can see they're all selected. So now I know I've selected this whole data series. If I right click in any one of my selected data points, a pop-up menu comes up, and the last item in it says Format Data Series. I'm going to click that. That opens up this Format Data Series task pane. And I want to point out this one option, which is really handy. If you click on your fill color, you can vary your colors by point. So that means it's going to change each color of the data points in the data series. Now, if there was one that you wanted to color differently so that it really stands out, you can select a data point by clicking a second time on any one you want. So let's say I want to select the citation tools data point. I click on it. I know I've selected it because I can see the activation points. And also, if I look over here at my menu in my task pane, it now says Format Data Point instead of Format Data Series. So let's say I want to change this color to something that's really going to stand out. I'll do a bright red. Okay, and let's say I want to add a shape, an arrow, and let's say I'm going to make this say low enrollment. And I can format it however I want. And I'll bold it. Okay, so hopefully after reviewing the options on the chart design and chart format tab, you've got a good idea of how you can make your charts easier to understand and more appealing.